Okay, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. So it's our 23rd episode. So we've been doing this quite a bit, but it's actually been a few weeks since our last broadcast. Our last one was on February 8th. So it's been a few weeks and there's quite a bit of catch up to do. So what the plan is for this evening is I'm going to try to go through a lot of items real quickly as far as project schedule, what's shipped, what's coming up next, our Kickstarter that's currently live. I'm going to preview one or two items as far as active game projects, and near the end I'm actually going to ask for some help. So you'll see that near the end. I'm going to do some audience participation as far as one of our projects, and I'll be looking for your opinion on how to handle something. So I'm looking forward to doing that. Also, for the recorded session, which I'll post tomorrow, as I normally do, we're adding an interview to the broadcast that's recorded. So I already did an interview, which I'll talk about here in a moment, but it won't be done live tonight. I'll just do a segue to that interview, and then you'll see the interview during the recording tomorrow, once I post the recording tomorrow. So we'll talk about a designer interview, and I'll just do a quick segue to that. But the rest is going to be obviously about getting you all up to date on our projects and finding out what questions you have. And then, of course, at the very end, we'll do our pre-order game announcement. So we have a new game that's going on pre-order, and I'm looking forward to announcing that. So without further ado, let me just check. I've got to take my chat session over here so I can make sure my chat's working. So I like Mark's comment. So many people on a Friday night. Well, I'm 55 years old. Mark's 56, and yeah, what else is going on with married guys on a Friday night when you're that age? Count me in on that one, Mark. So I can't argue with you on that one. So let's go ahead and get started with the schedule. So I'm going to go ahead and share that now. Hopefully you're seeing it okay. And quite a bit to catch up on, because as I mentioned, it's been since February 8th is when we last spoke. And we've had several releases since then. So I'm on the Compass Games homepage right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually try to zoom in one level on it just real quickly here, just to see if I can do that. And there we go. So made it a lot bigger, actually. So we can just fit in our product pipeline, make it a little easier for you to follow as I go through quite a few items here. So first thing we're going to focus on is what's really on the left side of the screen. Starting with our recent releases. So bottom left, you'll see recent releases. We've actually had several since we last talked, so I'm going to be getting into that. But before I get into our core game releases, I do want to mention really quickly that we do have a Kickstarter, and this is for the Euro gaming crowd. So anybody that's into family games, we have a game called Cargo Express. That's to help Oli Blenneman helps us manage our Euro game line. So you'll see that Colonialism was our first Euro game release several weeks ago, but now we've got Cargo Express available online. So if Euros is your thing, just want you to make you aware of this. You can just type Cargo Express and you'll find it on the Kickstarter. We also recently added a really nice teach, play, and discuss session that was done by the group called Heavy Cardboard, and they walk you right through the game. And of course, it's a very professional job because the Euro game industry, obviously, they have a lot better support and a lot more that goes into supporting Euro games. So it's a true production quality is much nicer than what I can pull off. So I just want to point that out. So just a real quick mention about Cargo Express. Again, if you have any family members or anything, this would be a great little game to pick up. It's a train game. It has to do with picking up supplies, shipping, delivering supplies. Of course, it's a strategy game as well. So you can learn more about it on Kickstarter. So again, that's Cargo Express. So let's talk a little bit about the schedule. First of all, a lot of people have been asking about what games are coming out when. So I'm going to go ahead and start actually with things that are not on the release schedule. So first thing I want to mention is we've got a few games coming out for a reprint. So we should have in a few months. We're just waiting on the box encounters. We're going to have Battle Hymn Volume 1, Gettysburg and Pea Ridge. That's the Eric Lee Smith game that we did very well that we sold out a few months ago. So we're just waiting for some more of the components to come in. What happened was Compass moved into a larger warehouse space, in Connecticut. And as they did the big move to the new warehouse, they found additional components for Battle Hymn. So we're able to get more games put together, but we need to get more boxes and counters to make them complete. The same holds true for a game that sold out very quickly, and I haven't mentioned this before actually, and that is that Nation in Arms is also going to be included as coming back again shortly. We're just waiting on a few components, and this will become available for sale again. So this is one that really sold out quickly. I think there were people really surprised how quickly it sold out when it was announced as shipping, and this goes back actually before my time of joining Compass. I don't know the full history, but in speaking with Compass, I understand that it sold out much faster than was anticipated. So happy to report that both Battle Hymn and Nations in Arms will be coming back, and I'll be announcing, of course, when those games are back in stock if you'd like to go ahead and place an order. A reminder for those on Facebook Live, really looking forward to any questions or comments you have, and on Facebook Live there's about a 20-second delay. So for Eric, Jason, John, George, Michael, please go ahead and post away, but it might take me about 20 seconds or so before the comment thread will catch up for me to see your comment. So again, just really quickly, just want to mention a few items. Also, we had a delay. We get our cards produced overseas, and with the printer contacted us, and they had a delay. They had to incur just in general business delay. So that impacted several of our projects. So for example, Blue Water Navy has game cards in it. And we have other games that have cards as well. And that's pushed out those games about another 30 or 60 days. I'd love to see these games coming out in June, but it might be even in July. Just waiting for really just the cards to be delivered. So those games are not listed on our schedule right now. So for upcoming titles, you're not seeing any of those games that we're just waiting for the cards on. So again, those games were on this schedule 2 weeks ago, and then we have to move them off once we found out from the printer that the cards are delayed. So as far as recent releases go, let's talk a little bit about, there's been basically 3 releases since we last talked. Colonialism is that first Euro game I mentioned. I've talked a lot about it, so I'm not going to show the page or anything like that. But Colonialism's doing very well for us, and I definitely recommend it. It's sort of more of a quasi, leans almost more into that whole war game genre because of the topic, the subject matter. A lot of people comment on, gosh, this is pretty dark for a Euro game. The history, it's a pretty dark history covering colonialism and what happens, what's being portrayed in the game. So, but there's a pretty good historical bent to it. So it's actually one I'm really interested in myself, because it doesn't feel like a pure family game to me, something that has some historical value to it. And then, of course, we have The Late Unpleasantness. So that, by the late Steve Rui. I just saw on Console World Forum just in the last few days, a few people commented that they've actually played it, and they really like the game system. So they're actually asking, are there going to be more games in the series? Because we really like the series from what we see so far. And yeah, I mean, it comes up to who's going to pick up the flag for Steve Rui then, who's passed away. Obviously, it'd be a great paying homage to Steve if somebody's interested in game design and has an interest in other Civil War battles. It would be great to see, look at additional games being done in this system by another designer. And I'll be happy to support, and we at Compass would be welcome anybody interested in doing that. But just want to mention for Late Unpleasantness, yeah, we've really seen some nice comments. Again, I saw those on the Console World Forum, just to let you know, in our game company support topic. So just a little bit about, again, this is 2 games in 1, by the way, as well. Just want to point that out as well. Another recent release we had was JIHAD for Paper War subscribers. So again, this was a new addition from Simulations Canada that was done in the 80s. I do want to mention that we've posted under the Rules, Errata, and Downloads area. We've gone ahead and posted. There was a missing table. So what I did was I basically took the components that come with the game already in the magazine. So these are the regular charts and tables that you would see normally in Paper Wars magazine, but we added a new page 3, which is right here, the missing charts and tables. And it's, the same format, so I just added it as a new 3rd page. Actually, thanks to Newt Grunitz, who did the graphics for the game, so he just did the new page for us, so it looks consistent as you can see with what we had done here. So that is now available on the website for Compass. Just make sure you go, again, to the Rules Errata and Downloads area, and you can download that and print it out real quickly. So just, again, want to point that out real quickly. Next thing I want to mention is Stalin's World War III is our most recent release. So if you look at our schedule, you'll see we had colonialism, we had Paper Wars before that, I've talked about Late Unpleasantness. Then we've now recently just had Stalin's World War III ship, and people started receiving it just last week. So for example, I have here, I added actually to the product page here, a photo from Facebook that was posted by somebody. So they did a really nice job. I really like how they took the time to really get the right layout on their tabletop to fit the box, some of the player aid cards, the 2 different rule booklets, all the counter sheets. So, you know, kudos to the job, really well done. So I went ahead and stole this photo and put it on the website. I hope that's okay with you. I think this is almost like a studio quality print to say, hey, here's what's in the box once you open it up. So again, Stalin's World War III is actually 2 games in one. And one thing I wanted to do for you now is I'll be adding tomorrow the actual links to the rules booklets. So now anytime a game ships, we'll get the rules posted online for you to download and print, or just to view online. So you can see here, we've got 2 games in Stalin's World War III. This is part 1, Rules of Play for Operation Pincher in Europe. Again, the game design's by Ty Bomba. And again, the rules are not, you know, not too thick or condensed, the rules. So this is a really playable game, as most Ty Bomba games are, looking at alternate history, etc. He loves doing games in that genre. So as you can see from the rules layout, you know, pretty standard, straightforward, not many pages of rules, just going through the system. Again, these are rules that are now posted online that you can access. And I think the total comes into around, I think around 24 pages total. So here's the back page that shows some of the charts and tables. So this is the rule booklet number 1. Then there's also the second game in the series, Operation Sandown in the Mideast. There's a Mideast map that goes with the game as well. So there's 2 different theaters. First thing people usually ask is, wait a second, there's 2 separate rule booklets. Aren't there like a standard set of rules that I can just read one set of rules and then just have a little short exclusive rules? We sort of did kind of, sort of. So what we did here, and if you look at the notes section here where I've got the mouse pointing right there in that map area, it talks about if you've already played, you know, the first game that I just showed you, the first rule booklet, if you're familiar and you've played it, then we're helping you out here a little bit by pointing out you just need to read sections 3 through 6, then 9, 10, and 13 of this rule booklet. So it's still treated as its own rule booklet. So you can see here it's going through the basic unit compositions, just like we saw earlier. But it's like a quasi, you know, supplemental set of rules. If you just want to go to the rules that matter for this game, then you just want to follow the little note here we have, because we know that's come up in the past. People, some people like to have a full rule set in each one, but then some people say, well, tell me what's different between this game and that game, because it's the same system. So give me a cheat sheet or something. So this is our effort to do sort of a cheat sheet within the full set of rules that are for each game. So again, just want to share that with you. And I hope, again, that's something you're looking at. The game just literally just started shipping last week. It's our most recent release. So again, you can go through the rules and you'll see very similar looking rules here. Again, this is for the second game on the Mideast. Again, this is using the Mideast game. And then, of course, again, charts and tables on the back. So those are the 2 rule booklets. They're now posted online, so they're available for download. You'll notice here by the Compass logo, there's a download button. That's the PDF you can download, and I'll also make it easy for you. So on the Compass website and on the rules and download section that I just showed you for the JIHAD game, I'll add 2 different links. I'll add a link to this website that's used as a service to serve up PDF documents and this interface. But I'll also do a separate purely PDF download link just to make it super easy for you. If you just want to download the PDF and not mess with this this version of getting the PDF viewed online with its special on-screen viewer, I'll go ahead and do that for you. It's no problem at all. So let's go ahead and Let's talk about a few other things. So we've now talked about our recent releases. So now what we need to talk about is a game that's coming up next. So going back to our schedule, at the top, we have 2 games coming out this month for the month of March. One's coming very quickly. It's going to be coming out actually next week. And that's Vietnam Rumor of War. That's the operational scale system game that, of course, Adam Starkweather has rolled out. I'll mention Korea. You know, Korea Fire and Ice was the most recent game done with that system. To let you know also, we posted like a Microsoft Word version of updated rules for Korea. Some people were having issues with the rules, and we updated the rules. But people that have been asking for the what you call the living rules, you know, where it's fully formatted. So for Korea, we will have living rules for Korea. I spoke with Adam Starkweather, the designer, and if all goes well, we should have a download of the fully formatted living rules for Korea available in about 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, just to let you know about that. But let's talk about the new release now. So we have Vietnam Rumor of War. So some people have been asking questions to Adam on Constant World Forum about how does this compare to Nicholas Karp's Vietnam by Victory Games, which is quite a detailed simulation, also very heavy on the political side. I know Adam's game at a very high level, you know, it focuses more on the military operations. Also the period of the war is less, but it's really a big focus on the military operations, and I think a very playable game. The way I tell people to look at this game or to consider it is look at any game in the operational scale system, and you'll already know pretty much what the game's going to be like as far as that goes. However, I do want to give you a preview of Vietnam Rumor of War. So I did post online already, so hopefully you saw it already, and I'll be adding it to the Compass website, is a Vietnam Rumors of War. This is a comprehensive example of play. It's over 20 plus pages of a full game turn. Just to give you an idea of how the game plays, again, this is the operational scale system. And this is posted online. I know, for example, I put it on Facebook already, and it's also on the Constant World Forum. But if you look through here, you can see that. Let me switch the view here, actually, to view this as a 2-page display. It might be a little better, so you can see what this looks like. So you can see here we've got full illustrations for the example of play. It's covering a full game turn. So this will walk you through. So for those that are asking, how's this game, say, compared to Nicholas Karp's Victory Games version of Vietnam, this will really walk you through everything, show you all the different procedures, and it takes you through a full sequence of play for a full game turn. So this is available already that you can look at and download, but what I will be adding as soon as the game's shipping next week, we will also make available online the official rules of play for Vietnam. What I'd like to do now for you, if it's okay, is I'm going to give you a quick tour, a sneak peek of the Vietnam Rumor of War rules. So this will be your first look for anybody to see what the final rules are. That will start shipping next week. And again, I'm just going to walk you through. We've got the glossary of terms, usual introduction, table of contents, explanation of all the units. See a little portrayal of the game map and the different player aid cards on page 4. And then we get into the explanations on page 5 and 6 and 7. So very detailed breakdown of all the markers and units in play. This is about all the markers. So 2 full pages, 2.5 pages. Then the sequence of play, which again, I mentioned that full sequence of play I just showed you in that other document. That's an actual play example. But this is the sequence of play, as you can see right here. And then we can go through, again, the core of the system. So again, if you've played Korea, the other operational scale system, a lot of this is going to look similar to you. So this is going through all the snafu markers, different markers in the game, support, headquarters and cadres, missions for headquarters units, air power in the game. There's separate displays for the air power in the game, of course, and the different types of missions, and also with SAM sites. Gets into naval power, as you can see, reinforcements, replacements, foreign intervention, leaders, so on and so forth. There's actually several scenarios available in the game as well. They can be as short as just a few hours, very short to the full campaign, which I believe is around 30 or 40 hours. And then we've got the samples of the counter sheets that are also reproduced in the rules. So total, it weighs in at a total of 36 pages with a bunch of illustrations. We had about 4 pages of unit illustrations at the intro, and then in the back we've got the counter sheets. So I hope this gives you a good sneak peek of the actual game that's going to be shipping Vietnam Rumor of War next week. And as soon as I get the word that the game is officially released, I'll go ahead and add a link so you can get a download of the PDF, or if you haven't ordered the game yet and you want to find out more about it, I'll be happy to cover it with you that way. So again, Vietnam Rumor of War shipping next week. All right, let's move on, see what we've got next. So next we're in the schedule. Actually, it's going to be one I'm obviously excited about, one of my own projects with Gregory Smith, who, again, we recently did Pacific Tide, next Zeppelin Raider, Imperial German naval airships. And I'm going to do the same thing for you tonight, even though this game's shipping a few weeks later. It's shipping on March 25th. Really enjoyed working with Olivier Revenue. I think he did a really nice job with the graphics for the game. Also was able to pull in some additional talent to do the actual rules booklet layout for Zeppelin Raider, and that was Chad Jensen. Chad's done some great game designs. You might know Chad and his wife Kai already. So Chad did the actual rules booklet layout, so all credit goes to him. All I had to do was provide some ideas and missing illustrations that we wanted to add to the rules. So here's the official rules that will be appearing for Zeppelin Raider. If you're familiar with Gregory's other games, like Interceptor Ace is coming out. We have Night Fighter Ace that's already shipped. That's doing quite well. We have, of course, by other publishers, Hunters, Silent Victory. We have Raiders of the Deep from Compass Games, which is based on Greg's system. What's really nice about this footprint of this game is I'd say these rules are probably about 20% lighter than any of the other solitaire games up to now that Greg's done. I think the page count is about 2 or 3 pages less from the other games like the Hunters or Night Fighter Ace. Those rules, I think, had a little bit more to them, so this is very playable. So let me walk you through the Zeppelin Raider rules. Again, I think Chad has really done a nice job with the rules layout. So again, real clear table of contents. Any notes have a nice format to them. They really stand out. There's a how to play the game section. That's up front, section 2.0. Just to introduce you to it, but if you're familiar with any of Greg's solitaire games, again, like Hunter, Silent Victory, Raiders of the Deep, Night Fighter Ace, you're going to feel very much at home with this overall game system. So you can see here we go through the actual game equipment with the explanations and the markers, and then the log sheets to log your campaign as a Luftschiff pilot for the German naval airship. So you have your log sheet to do, of course, as you're hoping to conduct successful missions and reap some rewards, honors, upgrades of Zeppelins, so on and so forth. So you can see really nice illustrations and get a flavor for the quality of the display. So here we walk you through step 1 through 4 of how to actually place the markers. Here we're using the P-class Zeppelin that was available in May of 1915. We have a nice big illustration. We show you how to place step by step the initial setup of those markers on your Zeppelin display. So we try to make it really easy for the status displays of your Zeppelin before you go on your first sortie mission. And then we walk you through your home base to start, sequence of play, what the flight sequence is like, which we use the maps. We have maps, which is pictured at the bottom right, to walk you through that. And then we take you through the entire mechanisms involved in how the loose ships actually maneuvered and the use of venting and gas cell damage and repair statuses, takeoff jettisons, wind effects, of course, all these different things, dynamic lift. But again, very simple. As you can see, it's only taking about 2 pages of rules, so you don't have to be an engineer to play the game. Make it very, very straightforward. Then we get into mission requirements and timing. Bombing and scouting are different types of missions in the game, and then you have encounters with different ships. We got parachute flares, we got aircraft encounters, all sorts of things going on. Then typical, as Greg does, he really builds a huge play narrative, a big story narrative, really builds as you have your career in these games. So it talks about your crew damage or damage to yourself and the severity of damage and recovery of the various roles. And then, of course, you have your crew advancement, which you're probably familiar with from other games. And then we get into the awards, tracking your skills that you obtain with successful missions, and then earning rewards getting promotions, how you can move on to different loose shifts through promotion, getting assigned to a newer model airship, and then a special campaign for Africa, which is called the Africa shift. So while Greg did some research for Zeppelin Raider, found some really interesting history, and we put together a game that covers the mission down in Africa during World War I. Very, very interesting. And then we have our pilot cards or commanded cards. So bottom right, we have some historical commanded cards at the top. Commanders, naval airship commanders in Germany during the Great War. So again, really happy with how the rules turned out. Very brief designer notes, really straightforward with a bibliography, small images of the single counter sheet. And then, as I always like to try to do with the rules and the games that we introduce or we ship, is put a very nice rules index on the back cover to really help you find what you're looking for. And then, of course, every major rules section is bold-faced, so it stands out a little bit more. But everything you can see, full 3 columns is covered to help make it easier to find exactly what you're looking for while you're playing the game. So that, in a nutshell, is what's going to be shipping on March 25th is Luftschiff. So there's a quick preview of the game rules. I hope that's something that you'll take interest in. I think this game's going to do extremely well, just the topic matter. I know there's been a Luftschiff that's been published by Sierra Madre Games. I think there was an S&T issue on Zeppelins, but I think just with Greg's system, what he's well known for, I think it's going to be a wonderful release. I'm really excited about that. So let's see, next, what I want to do quickly here is I want to do a segue for the interview that was pre-recorded with Tomislav Cipcic. So Tomislav Cipcic is the designer for Brotherhood and Unity. And this is a game that will be out, it'll be out later near the end of the year. But had a very enjoyable, it's about the interview length runs about 20 or 25 minutes. But Tomislav, and we really go through his approach to the design, some of the design decisions he made. We talk about the design itself. So again, I heartily recommend starting tomorrow when I post this recorded session. Right in this spot, I'll be splicing in the interview with Tomislav. Now, unfortunately, maybe it's due to the connection. He's actually located in this area in Europe. He's from that area, actually, so we actually talked about that during the interview. We had trouble with the connection. The bandwidth didn't seem to hold up very well. So my voice actually sounds much different because I think the bit rate wasn't fully supported. I think you'll understand me, but it won't sound like me. And then some of the video, you'll see us, but there will be some spots of the video that aren't very clear, not true HD quality. Again, I just think the bit rate had some interruptions, so the video signal and my complete sound signal was completely a different person. I didn't know about it until after the recording was done, but I've edited the piece already, so I know what's happening. So again, I'm very excited. We're going to do a segue right here. So for those watching this recorded broadcast right now, let's go ahead and let's start our interview with Tomislav Cipcic, the designer of Brotherhood and Unity.
Okay, as I mentioned during our live broadcast, we're segueing over to our interview for this evening. So I want to do a special welcome to the designer of Brotherhood and Unity, which will be coming later this year from Compass Games. And apologies in advance, Tomislav, as I might say your last name incorrectly, but I'm going to try. It's Tomislav Cipcic. I'm going to
great.
My best shot at it anyway. So. That's good enough. So, okay. So again, it's a pleasure to have Tomislav Cipcic here. We're going to talk about his design, Brotherhood and Unity. I'll go ahead and I'll show some of the components and some of the things as we get to talking more about the design. But before we get into talking about the design, why don't you tell us how the idea for the game design, the topic, the subject matter for the war in Bosnia-Herzegovina, 1992-95, how it all came together for you?
Well, actually, I was trying to make a game about the war in Croatia. I read a book. I read a lot of books on the topic, and the last one I read was a book by Davor Marian, Domovinski rat, Homeland War, and I started making a game because it really encompassed all the war. And I started making a game, and I realized when I made the game, after a few months, that it can't work. It can't work because without representing Bosnia and Herzegovina and the war in Bosnia and Herzegovina, war in Croatia had, as the author said himself, it was a united battlefront in Croatia and Bosnia and Herzegovina. So I added the Bosnia and Herzegovina to this game, and after playing for a while, I realized that that could be made a game for itself. And then I stripped the game from Croatia, left it only with Bosnia and Herzegovina, and I got myself a great game. That's how I started.
And this was your first, is this correct that it's your first design? Or I think in your background you mentioned your background.
No, I had many designs, but this is the first time I realized that I could really try and publish something for the first time. Because all my previous designs I was playing with my friends, with my gaming team. But this time I said, why don't try to publish it for the first time?
Great. Well, let's go ahead. I'm going to share my screen. I want to share for everybody just to revisit more information about the game itself. So I'm going to go ahead and show the product page that we have that's available now on Compass Games website. So here we can see, and I'll just zoom in. Can you tell us a little bit about this photo? What area? It's quite a dramatic photograph, obviously. And
yeah.
If you can maybe share with the readers what this is.
Thanks to Ilya Kudryashov, who designed the artwork for the box, he chose this image. And this image represents a neighborhood in Sarajevo just after the war. It's 1996, about a couple of months after the Dayton Agreement. And as you can see, that neighborhood is almost completely destroyed. To your right, you see an image of a football field. It's a football field of a famous Sarajevo football club, Željezničar.
Mm-hmm.
And well, in my post in a couple of months, I'll be putting an image of today's overview of this same street, so you can compare how was it 25 years ago and how does it look today.
Yeah, I believe I may have seen an image like that. I don't know when it was exactly.
I put it already on Facebook, but I'm preparing like a small story about this image.
It really is a dramatic photo already, but when you contrast it to what it would look like not during the ravages of war, it makes it even obviously much more dramatic to see the difference between the two. So that's something definitely to look forward to. So again, we have this is available for everybody. So I just want to mention, we've got several of the key components for the game. We've got the game map as we're showing here. They can go through and click through, get an example of some of the pieces for the game, 9/16" counters, etc. What I've also done, however, is I can pull it up here. I can maybe zoom in on the game map a little bit. If you can tell us a little bit about the game map itself and how, again, you talked about the regions and areas it covers and how you added to it. But maybe you might have more you want to add to the map description as far as what I'm showing right now.
Sure. Well, at first I started with the map of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Then I divided it into, I think it was like 250 or 300 spaces. Mm-hmm. First I decided which mechanisms to use. I decided for it to be a card-driven game. And I experimented with the number of spaces. And after a while, after playtesting, it's been shown that the game was rather long, lasting for like 6 or 7 hours. So I reduced the space count to about 110, 120. And this is the map you have now, about 100 spaces.
So counting all the boxes, all the spaces, as you mentioned.
Yeah, all the major towns and crossroads are represented here.
And then you have an inset map on the bottom left area, Sarajevo. Can you tell us a little bit about this map portion at the bottom left?
Sure. Well, Sarajevo was a very big part of the war in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Not the only part, of course, but the major part. So it had to be included. And I had to make a special map for it to show the neighborhoods. If you can see at the bottom, you see in the middle, Grbavica. Yeah, just right to your cursor. Yeah, Grbavica. That is the place where that picture was taken. And that was the only neighborhood in the inner Sarajevo, which was captured by Serbs from the beginning of the war.
Okay.
All the other central areas were in the hands of Bosniaks. Those are those three green spaces you see. And all around, surrounding them, were Serb spaces. So actually you had a siege within a siege. You had Bosniaks in the middle, Serbs all around them, and if you zoom out to the big map, you can see that around Serbs were again Bosniaks. So you had a siege ring within a siege ring. And that's why it had to be represented, to show all the complexity of the war.
That's very interesting. Now, when you had to decide on the game system, I've had the liberty to look at your designer blogs you've done, and I'm going to actually switch over to Board Game Geek just for a moment. This is where you have this is where everybody can find the information about the game. This is the product page on Board Game Geek. I just want to draw everybody's attention. If you scroll down, as I'm doing now, there's the forum area, and they'll see here a series of designer entries you've done. I believe you've done a total of 7 designer blog entries, all very interesting. They're all topical in nature, beginning with the introduction. And I think it was either the introduction or the second installment where you have to decide what kind of a game system, like what the game was going to be. Hex based, it's right here. Hex based, hex encounter, coin system, using the actual coin system, or a card driven with point to point game. Could you walk us through those initial considerations and why perhaps hex encounter wasn't the right fit for this design?
Well, I wanted to encompass the whole war. That's what I wanted to do, because the big picture of the war in Bosnia and Herzegovina has never been shown in a war game. That's what I wanted to do. And if you use hex encounter, you go into too much detail, into nitty-gritty detail, into tactical part of things, and the game just drags on and on. And I wanted to make a strategic game which will last 3 or 4 hours. So I just couldn't go for hex encounter. I had to go to something more like For the People by Mark Herman, or Parts of Glory, something like that. I even thought about coin system, but in coin system you have, in general coin system, you have insurgents on one side and government on the other side. Here you didn't have insurgents and government. Here you had 3 sides splitting from each other. So
yes,
there is an asymmetry, but not that kind of asymmetry. So
and yeah, sorry, go ahead. Didn't mean to interrupt
no.
you.
With point-and-point system, with spaces connected with roads, you really get those strategic choke points. And what is interesting with the war in Bosnia and Herzegovina, it is a country with such a mixed population. If you look at the map, you'll see that all 3 sides are intertwined with each other. Bosniaks, Serbs, and Croats are all over the place. So when you use that kind of mechanism to show that heterogeneous state, then you are in a real problem. And that's what I wanted to show from military side, how a general can fight war where there is no clear front line. Yeah.
And can you explain, perhaps, since you decided on the point-to-point approach, are there other designs you borrowed from?
Sure, of course. Okay. From Parts of Glory, from Barbarossa to Berlin, from, I don't know, For the People by Mark Herman, even some things about calculating victory points from coin systems. I used other mechanisms and I tried to streamline them and to adapt them to this game. I didn't want to invent something if I had something good already. And for instance, you have a classical card-driven game like in For the People, or in maybe more like Parts of Glory, where you play the card for event or maybe for an operation, and then you can see the cards. Those are classical cards. On the top left you see a card value. It ranges from 2 to 4. Each card has its own unique event. I've also added card types. So you can see some of these cards are marked as combat cards, others are offensive cards. And that made learning the cards easier because I defined in the rule book what does each type mean. For instance, you have on top right foreign units card for Serbian intervention. That's a card which introduces new types of units in the game and represents the help which Serbia gave to Serbians in Bosnia and Herzegovina and to Croats in Bosnia and Herzegovina.
And I notice there's on the top you have early war, late war. Does this have any tie into the game as far as maybe the card can't be played? If there's a late war card but you're early in the game, does that mean it can't be played? Or what's the meaning between early war and late war?
The meaning is you start the game with your deck only having early war cards. So your deck from which you are drawing your cards is only early war cards. And when you get to the third turn, and that's the middle of the war, second part of the war, then you add on late war cards and you have a full deck. So late war cards are added only in the second part of the war.
And there's the back card face for the Serbian deck. So I think if I switch here, we can see the Croatian deck here. We got political. Now, there's not. Is it correct that there's it's more of a operation military focus game as versus politics? Is that correct?
Yeah. I thought about which side to include, and I focused more on the military side.
Right. So we've got the cards there for the Croatian deck, and then lastly, the Bosniak deck.
And all three decks are different. On one side, you have Serbs, which had a large amount of firepower, so majority of their cards is offensive, using those military advantages. On the other hand, Bosniaks had to manage with their people and with much less firepower, so they have more like leader cards and some other events, political events. As you can see here, for instance, Miss Sarajevo, you have media coverage, you have, I don't know, Operation Deliberate Force, you have more general type events than the Serbs have.
Understood. And then the actual card play itself, do I understand correctly, there's the concept of operation points or the concept of events. How does the card play typically work? What's the typical decisions being made when one is going to be doing some type of an activation?
Well, when it's your turn, you can play a card for operation by using operational points, card value, which enables you to move, to attack, maybe to entrench a space, or you can play it for an event, which is unique for each card, or maybe you can play it for replacements, or you can play it for diplomatic event, which is another part of the game which we will talk about, that is foreign attitude. And also you can play a card for strategic redeployment. That's similar to the way cards are being played in, I don't know, Paths of Glory, for instance.
Okay, could you explain a little bit? I did want to jump to the concept of the foreign attitude, and also just scoring victory and strategic will in general, as far as what's driving the overall goals and objectives of the game, how scoring's done, how to achieve victory, the considerations. Yeah, that'd be great.
What are objectives in the game? Well, there are many controversies about why the war started and what was it fought for. But in general, I think, and many historians agree, that the war was fought for territory. But not any kind of territory, but ethnic space of a certain populace. For instance, Serbs wanted to create their ethnic space, continuous ethnic space. Yeah, show that map. That's the great map. This map encapsulates maybe the best and the easiest way how to recognize the interests of each side. For instance, yellow shows the regions which were claimed by Serbs. Greens are regions claimed by Bosniaks, and blue are regions claimed by Croatians. And now each side tries to capture their ethnic space, which gives them certain points. In order to win, they have to capture all of their regions. Otherwise, they can't win until the game ends. And if no side can reach its objective, then at the end, a victory score is calculated. And in that victory score calculations, if you haven't captured your own region, you get a negative points. So that's what's most important, to capture your own regions. And on places where you have several sides fighting for the same region, those are the biggest choke points in the game. For instance, in the middle, you have Srednja Bosna, middle central Bosnia. And because it was populated like 50% by Bosniaks and 50% by Croatians, it was contested, and that was one of the reasons why the war broke out between Bosniaks and Croats in the middle of the 1993.
Excellent. Yeah. And then now it's a 3-player game, I want to say, because you've got the 3 sides, but I understand you have various options to do even a 2-player game and other variants. Is that correct?
Yes, we have a 2-player game and 3-player game. Now, this war was fought by 3 sides, and it's made initially as a 3-player game, but it's also playable as a 2-player game, and it's been play tested in both versions. 2-player game is a version where on one side you have Bosniaks and Croats in permanent alliance, and on the other side you have Serbs. And in a 3-player game, it's each side for itself.
Tell us a little bit about foreign attitude in the game. I understand that's a key ingredient to playing the game. I guess basically so one side just can't run the board, etc. And foreign attitude and consideration has to come into play. So how did you handle the aspect of foreign attitude?
Yeah, that was maybe the trickiest part to simulate, because when you think about it, in 1990, it was a really breaking year for many countries in Europe. Soviet Union was breaking apart, and Yugoslavia was breaking apart, and at that time, European Union was European community trying to show itself as a diplomatic leader. So you had many countries from the start of the war which tried to influence the flow of the war. You had USA, you had Great Britain, France, and I had to show somehow the influence of those foreign countries on the events happening in the war. This war was from the start shown in every media in the world, and I wanted to show that. Now, after a while and after thinking a lot about it, I decided to create a track. You can see it in the left side, foreign attitude track. No, that's the strategy wheel point. Yeah, that's the one. Each side has a foreign attitude score. It starts with 0. 0 is neutral. Any foreign power is neutral to that side. And it changes to the negative side as a result of certain events. You can see in the legend down there, if you capture a key space, it gets -1 point. That represents ethnical cleansing, which was done after capturing a certain city's key spaces. Mm-hmm. For instance, if you capture a UN safe area, you can do that, but it penalizes you by losing 3 points. Yeah, yes. And that's what happened many times in the war. Serbs started with massive firepower, capturing all over the place, but after a while, all the world turned against them, and they had to stop. Not because they didn't have ammunition, but they had to regain some diplomatic, leverage to all their successes, military successes. And that's the key aspect. You can't go all over the place capturing all the cities without looking after your diplomacy. And you have special cards which you can use to reduce this foreign attitude level to normal, to 0. And you can also use any card practically as a diplomatic event card to boost up your foreign attitude level. So in this balance of capturing and playing cards to reduce this level, you are always in some kind of box, going from one to other side, trying to beat the clock.
So I want to take a step back from your design and ask an interesting question. Since you live in the area and I'm sure you've played this game and discussed this design with your colleagues, your friends that are all have had families impacted in the area, just given the history. What's that like as a designer? You're actually designing something that captures, obviously a very horrific period for the country's history and a lot of losses for families. What's that like? I mean, this isn't like a Civil War game. You're actually really capturing, almost from an educational standpoint. I wonder how people in the area playing this game, what will they take away from seeing something like this done? I'm really curious what your thoughts on that are.
Well, I can say it's been very sad experience. I didn't expect it to be such a sad experience. When I started this, I had to read so many books, watch so many films, and talk to people. And after a while, it really gets to you, you know. I mean, I've been to all those places, especially in Sarajevo, and I've seen places of all these massacres, and it's not easy. It's not easy. And I tried to be objective. I didn't want to presume that one side was innocent and the other side was, I don't know, victim, the other one was perpetrator. I tried to represent a neutral stance, if it can be represented. That's why I chose military side of affairs instead of going into the, I don't know, personal behaviors. But it's been a very, very tough experience. In my next part of the blog, I'm going to talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, I am really curious. I mean, this is, in running Consum World Forum, I've seen a lot of different designs done on different topics. Some topics very controversial that actually happened long ago, like I think games on, running of a concentration camp and how that, the interactions and how that can be simulated. So I just know in America, there's a balancing act where looking or talking about certain things in history might offend some people. Now, my personal belief has always been we learn from our history.
Yeah.
Sugarcoating history means you're taking out some hard lessons that maybe shouldn't be forgotten for future generations. And I feel like this effort, this design you've done, it's obviously taken you on a journey similar in that nature, where you're taking a hard look at things, that you're trying to have taking an objective perspective versus taking one side. But I want to commend you. It's not an easy topic to take on. This is not a generic, not to say any war game is generic, but it's not a Battle of the Bulge game, which everybody has 100 titles to choose from. This is something that touches a lot of people today, still touches a lot of people today. So I applaud you for that effort.
Thanks. We need to talk about this war, because if you look at it, Second World War was maybe the most brutal war in the history of mankind, and there are thousands, if not more, games and films and books about it. So why there wouldn't be more war games about war in Bosnia and Herzegovina? They should be, because if we don't learn from these mistakes we made, we can repeat the history. So this is the right place and time to look back and try to read some good conclusions, not the wrong ones. I'm afraid that in my country and in Bosnia and Herzegovina and in Serbia, there still isn't quite good conclusion that was reached. I mean, everybody is on the same places they were like 25, 30 years ago. So, I don't know, let's try to be more objective this time, to understand why all this happened and how I hope, that's my hope, that many more games will be made about this topic, because it's really an interesting war, and Bosnia and Herzegovina is really an interesting country. You have three religions, you have three cultures, and they all speak more or less the same language. They all understand each other. They live for centuries together, and then suddenly it all burst in such a destructive way. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I must tell you, I really, I've been studying your blogs, getting ready just to talk to you this evening, and I really appreciate all the thought and consideration you've really put into this this design.
Okay.
And I know when we first announced it, for example, yes, on social media, Facebook, and all that, there was quite a bit of interest.
Yeah.
And this isn't your typical topic, right? This is something quite timely, and like you said, the history and the different components and parts to it, and the religions and the three sides and all those aspects, are really something we can perhaps learn from. So with that, what I want to do is I just want to close with a reminder again for everybody where they can find the game, your game design. So again, going back to our product page, and again, you can do a simple search just by typing Brotherhood. You'll see it comes up right away. No problem. Or I could even type, one of the sides, Bosnia. So it will take you right to the product page. And again, this game will be shipping in a few months. More information, obviously, on the product page here, which I'm scrolling through. But obviously, I heartily recommend your designer blogs that you have on Board Game Geek, and I'm very excited in anticipation of your next blog entry that you're thinking about as far as your own experience and journey with the design. But definitely would recommend everybody definitely gives this a look. Very interesting topics. I think many things to learn from. Interesting that it's also 3-player, which I think is a unique aspect, even though it can be 2-player, etc. But yes, a very dramatic and looks like a very interesting design you've put together. So my last question will be, what happens after this? This is your first foray into board game publishing. Do you take a break, have some wine for a few weeks or months?
No, actually, I'm already thinking about a new game, and I started reading. So I don't know, maybe more games on the topic of my region in the future. But we'll see. Let's see how it goes with this one, and we'll see.
Well, I'm sure we'll go very
topics here as well.
I'm sure we'll go very well with this one. I mean, everything you've put into this, it looks wonderful, and a lot of folks have been asking, when will the game be shipping? And yes, it's going to take a few more months, but I know there's a lot of anticipation, and I think having this nice, quick conversation and chat about the game itself and your design and the history behind it was very helpful for me, just to learn more from your perspective. So Tomislav, I want to thank you very much for being here with us today. And obviously this is a recorded session, so we couldn't take any live questions, but maybe we can have you back again a second time when there might be some questions, maybe especially when the game is released. Maybe we can have you back talking about the game, and we'll have some players who might have some questions for you about your design. But we're all eagerly anticipating the game's release later in 2019. I want to thank you again for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me in your show, and I hope the game, I don't know, sells good.
It will do well. Thank you so much, Tomislav. Have a good night.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See how easy that was. So again, just had to do this for the live session. So now we've done a segue. So let's get on with our business for tonight. So a few things that I want to mention really quickly is a great photo on Facebook was posted, which I really like. Salvatore Vasta posted this at the recent game convention. Mark Day playing Pacific Tide. He just found out, as you can see here, he was one amphibious card short being able to have a chance to win the games as the Americans on the last turn of Pacific Tide. So can you feel this person's pain? It's just all over this picture. I just had to share this with you. This was again on Facebook a few days ago, but Mark Day did not have a good ending to Pacific Tide. So, but I wanted to mention this because we just released our module for Pacific Tide today. So again, I'll add a link to the Pacific Tide product page. It's already also posted on Facebook. It's also posted on Consum World Forum, etc. But I definitely want to invite you to download the VASSAL module for Pacific Tide. I know a lot of people are having fun playing the game. And Greg had a very specific design intent with it. It's really meant to be a strategic game with a lot of decisions going on. Even the style, the artistic style of the game was meant to be sort of a simpler throwback design approach, if you will. So Greg tried to do something a little bit different with it, but I want to make sure you were aware of that, that it was available. Now I need to ask your help, everybody. I do need to ask your help on something. So this is audience participation time before we get to any questions you have. So I'm working on wrapping up a project, which I've mentioned before, and that is a project with Masahiro Yamazaki in Japan. He's a great designer. He's done a lot of great designs. You might know him well from his War for the Motherland Eastern Front game, which is 2 full-size maps. A very popular game that's been published. And we're doing a game called For Motherland. And this is a brand new design. It is, yes, it is based on War for the Motherland, but of course the obvious size difference. It's 1 single map size, not 2 map sheets. It's a mounted map, nice big rounded counters. We're doing the full production value overseas, mounted game map, everything. So we're pulling out all the stops. But this is where the audience participation comes in now. So I'm hoping somebody out there, I see Kev's just joined as well on Facebook, and we've got everybody on the Zoom platform as well. So I need you to watch and listen carefully. I'm gonna have to zoom in here, I think, to explain the situation with the game map. If you look at the game map, we have a north side at the top, and we have some charts and tables on the north side. Notice they are facing up and away. Imagine that there's a person sitting on that side of how the map is represented. That is for the Soviet-Russian player. You're gonna be sitting off the map on the top. So notice these displays right here are facing towards the Soviet player. Now for the German player, they're gonna be facing opposite side of the table. So I'm gonna scroll down and notice here, starting with the German charts and tables, we got German air units and German replaced units box. See how that's facing down, very easy for us to see. It's oriented towards us. Or if you're facing the table, it's facing the German player. And here's the important part. Now it's going to get to the participation part that I want to get to now. Notice there's also going to be charts and tables that are facing inward. They're meant for both players. So it's not favoring either the Russian player north or the German player south. And we can see here we've got the terrain effects chart that's facing inward. I don't have a problem with that. Here it is facing inward, so that's going to be for both players. And then what I need to do here is I need to scroll to the right side of the map. And we can notice we have the combat results table and the phase record track. All those are facing in, so trying to do the best we can to accommodate both players. Now this is a very important thing that I want to mention. All the charts and tables that you're looking at right now, except for the game turn track, you'll have all of these on separate player aid cards. I would never, do a premium production of a game and say you're going to have to be, look at my eyesight. I mean, I've got special computer glasses, and I don't want to have to be bending in, bending over, and looking at all these different charts and tables on the map. So all the charts and tables, everything I've shown you pretty much up to now, they're going to be on separate player aid cards for both players, with the exception of the holding boxes. Those would be on the map itself. But here's the part I'm struggling with, and I want to get everybody's opinion on this. And that is the game turn record track. Notice how the game turn record track, that's something for both players. It's both Soviet and German, but it's facing only the German side. It's not facing the Soviet side for sure. It would be facing the opposite direction. And it's not facing inward like the other ones you see next to it, because it won't fit. It won't fit because of that landscape mode. It just simply won't fit in that mode. So what I wanted your opinion on is I do want to have the charts and tables on the map, because again, I want to give players options. So some people, while they're playing the game, we've got the tracks, but they might want to also just refer quickly to some of the charts and tables on the map, so that's why they're on here. But we have an option here, since we also have player aid cards. What I can do is I can adios and get rid of the combat results table that you see here, which is taking up a large area. And what that will allow me to do is flip back to landscape orientation for both sides. I can make the game turn record track bigger in size, so a little more comfortable for the units, and same for the phase record track that we have. We'll have a little more, probably a little more room for that, I'm guessing, but definitely for the game turn record track. So my question for you is, via Facebook or on the Zoom platform, if it was coming down to a vote and you had two choices for this map, only two choices. There is no third choice to take the charts and tables off the map, because they're going to be on the map as an option to players. So they're not coming off. It's just a single map size. So your choice number one is the map would stay as you see it now. So the game turn record track is facing the German side, so not so friendly for the Soviets. The second choice is we get rid of the combat results table on the map completely, because it's going to be on player aid cards, and we now have all this additional real estate, and we can flip the game turn record track, make it bigger, and put it in that area. So if you can weigh in on Zoom, if you can hit the chat icon if you're on the webcast right now, or Q&A, just give me a quick vote on what your preference is there. And then on Facebook, if you could just put in chat on Facebook, I'd love to see what you're saying. So I've got some responses in. So choice number two, which is remove the CRT from the map. I'm getting a lot. Okay, everybody's telling me dump the combat results table. So it's unanimous. So this is great. So you guys are helping me with a game project. So we're done. So what's going to happen is, and you are a witness to this, God's witness, we're going to get rid of the combat results table. I'll flip the game turn record track, make it a little bigger. I'll see if the phase record track we can do anything with that as well. And we'll be off to the races. So that's perfect. Thanks so much for the help on that. So what I want to do now is I want to get to the pre-order game announcement. So let's go ahead and do that. So what I need to do here is I need to activate the page on the website. And I'm sure I've been logged out for security reasons by now. So when I hit save and continue, which I'm doing right now, it's going to log me out. And I'm going to have to log back in. I'm sure of it. Just mark my words. So I'm just waiting. Yep, it logged me out. Well, I guess that's a good thing to have security that logs you out when you haven't touched the admin portion of a website for a half hour. So I'm just logging in here. So let me go get the product ready to show you, and then we'll talk about the new pre-order announcement for today. And what I'll be planning to do is do a designer. The designer of the game isn't available to do video or anything like that, but I will definitely try to. Do a quasi interview or get some questions from him. So let me go ahead and enable the page now. Almost there, everybody. We're almost there. So we're gonna get to the big exciting part now. All right, let's see if this will work. So let me go there now. Should be on. So we will go there now. So we're gonna go to the pre-orders page. And this is our new pre-order. So the new pre-order game by Sean and Daniel Chick, these are brothers, is Cradle of Civilization. It's an area movement game. It's 2 games in one, Sumeria to Persia and Alexander versus Darius. So again, 2 complete games in one. This is gonna get the full quasi-Euro style treatment, deluxe components, mounted game map, oversized counters, etc., etc. So let me go straight to some of the graphics for the game. So you can see here on the product page, we have pre-order now set up and pay later. Pre-order now and pay later. It's $59 instead of $79. And I've got a lot of the components available. It's a card-driven game. So here, for example, we have the area map for Cradle of Civilization to give you an idea. This probably has sort of that Euro feel to it as far as this looks like it needs to be a mounted game map probably to you. And that's what we're doing here. The game system's going to be fairly straightforward, not an overly complex game. It's meant to be played quickly, so the complexity level scale is not too high. I wanted to walk you through just some of the back card faces for the game, for the different epics. So you can see a lot of the artwork's already done for the game that we've already entered in pre-production for the game. And then to get a better flavor of what some of the cards look like, here's some of the, here's the back face of the card for the Bronze Age, Middle Bronze Age, and then you can see here some of the game cards themselves to give you an idea. And again, you can look at all this information is now posted online. So we've got about 4 different, just the front sides of 4 different counter sheets for control markers. You can see I've posted those, so you can get a quick look at those. Got some naval units here as well. So again, just to give you a better idea what the game's about, you'll see we've got some different types of army troops. You can see we've got cavalry, naval again. Try to make it colorful, sort of a quasi-Euro crossover game style. And I've got some of the player aid cards we've also made available here. So Sumeria to Persia, we got the different civilizations chart here as an example. And then lastly here, we have here also for the Sumeria to Persia game, because they're 2 different games. This is just one of the 2 games. We got also at the bottom sequence of play. So again, this is one of 2 games. There's actually 2 games in here that are available that are going to be boxed together. Sumeria to Persia and Alexander versus Darius. So again, it's a 2-player game. As you can see here, actually it goes up to 6 players because of the different epics and everything. So I don't want to say 2-player game. So you can have up to 6 players for this game. And you can see mounted map. There's 9, they're 1-inch counters, like Euro style, with the curved corners. Very big, large counters. So there's 9 full sheets of 1-inch counters. And we've got the tiles for the game. There'll be tiles in the game, etc. So again, you know, we haven't done too many Ancients games. I'd say for when I did a year in review last year, I went through the numbers of how many games for the year were actually Ancients era, and we didn't score very high for Ancients. So I'm really excited that we have Cradle of Civilization now in the lineup, getting a premium production treatment. And it's going to be a very playable game with one to many players, and we're finally able to do more with Ancients. Obviously, we did JIHAD for Paper Wars, but obviously I'm excited to see that we're also able to do this new game. So definitely check it out online. As I mentioned, Sean Chick and his brother, doesn't look like they'll be able to set up for a video interview, but I do want to get you more information about the game. I'm sure we'll also post more information in the future issue of Paper Wars as well. Last thing I want to mention before I cut to any questions is registration's open for Compass Games Expo 2019, November 8th through the 11th. We actually have 5 or 6 people that have signed up but haven't submitted the registration form yet. So actually we're at 21 attendees, but I'm still waiting for information from 6 individuals who have already signed up. And then you'll notice we've got the game sign-up list here as far as what people are interested in playing. And you can change your game sign-ups at any time. It's not a problem at all to change what games you'd like to play. And we'll have a bunch of special events available that you can play as well. So again, that's just a little bit about Compass Games Expo. We doubled our floor space going into this year's event. We had a great turnout. Already had about 110, 120 people last year. So we're really excited about that. So I'm going to turn it over to you now. And again, just want to briefly mention that we will have that designer interview with Tomislav Cipcic tomorrow as part of this recorded session. You'll be able to watch the full interview. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with you tomorrow. But I'm going to go ahead and take a quick look here. I'll start with Facebook Live to see if there's any questions on Facebook for me, and then I'll go through the questions on the web platform. So Blue Water Navy, as I mentioned already, and same for Indian Ocean region. Those are delayed somewhat with the production, the printer I mentioned. So but they are coming this year. So they are coming. Glad to see Eric Farrago. You like the rule booklet for Vietnam Rumor of War. Yeah, Fortress Europa is coming along very well. Where we're at with that right now is the map and counters are done. Some of the order of battle displays are done. I can cheat here real quick for you since I'm sharing my screen. So I'll go ahead and do that. Just to give you an idea, we are finishing up the player aid cards right now. And part of the player aid cards are the unit displays, order of battle cards. So I'll go to Fortress Europa right now. Player aid cards discussion, there's 107 postings on it. So I live in base camp to do these projects, and Bruce Urian is the so here's an example, German initial setup. So don't worry, you don't have to email me about all these unit dispositions are wrong. We're still proofing, and there's a lot of corrections we're making to the initial setups. So we're going through all the setup cards right now for the Germans and the Allies, so you can see the quality of the cards we're doing. Same thing for the regular player aid cards. The regular player aid cards are, if I scroll up here, maybe I have a little, can give you another sneak look. So here's combat results table, several pages again, enough for both players. So this project's coming along very well, absolutely. And we still have to do, we have to finish the player aid cards. They're still being worked on. Then we have the back of the box, which shouldn't take too long. We should have the back of the box in about a week because we have to get the box into production at the printers. Front of the box is already done. And then we have the rules booklet layout to get done, which I'll be working on. So thanks for your question on Fortress Europa. And let's see if there's other questions in here. Let's see. Kev mentioned, why have all the charts on the FOR Motherland map? I like giving people choices. It's just a single map, and I definitely want people to have both choices, a map or card. I don't think we'll take away from the map. I think the map, Masahiro does a great job, and usually he puts a lot of his charts and tables on the map anyway, but that's just how I am typically too. If I have space, I can fit it. I like to put some of those things on the map, but I always provide separate player aid cards. That's how I roll pretty much. So you get a choice with me. Like with counters, with icons versus NATO symbology, I give you both types of unit counters to pick from when you're playing a game as well. So it looks like everybody answered questions for me. So I'm all set on Facebook, and let me check really quickly if there's any questions on the platform chat here. Is Battle Hymn Volume 2 still slated for Q2? Likely, as long as we get the box and counters in, I say it would be like May, June-ish timeframe for Battle Hymn is what we're looking at, and same for Nation in Arms. So if we're lucky in May and June, we'll be able to have some additional copies of Nation in Arms in print again. Excuse me, and Battle Hymn Volume 1. So not too far from now, not too long. Any time frame for World War II Commander Battle of the Bulge? Yes, for Battle of the Bulge, I'll just go there really quickly. It's pretty easy with the search on the site now to just jump to that page, which is right here. So this game should be out around the May time frame, if I've got that right. Actually, I may have got that wrong. I may have got that wrong because I got an email about that today. I believe it's going to be in the summer. So let me see if I can find that email really quickly. So you're watching me. So Battle of the Bulge will be Q3. So I've got, trust me, I've got it right here in my phone. So Battle of the Bulge, what you see right here, I think I did a Facebook preview. I showed you some of the German control discs as for fun, etc., and the cubes. Yeah, so that'll be Q3 of this year. So obviously July, August, September, we'll have this game out. And again, as it was funny, we had the comment by Eric Lee Smith said this is probably the most play-tested game of any board game release, mainly because it's based on his app that he did for Shenandoah Studios, which has been played thousands of times. And then John Butterfield converted it to the board game format. So yeah, this game's gone through the paces quite a bit, but hat tip to John Butterfield. He had to also change some of the components. So it's not a straight, it's not at all a straight thing. As a matter of fact, the way the game started, it didn't start as an app. It started as a board game, and then it got converted to a digital format. And then John Butterfield took his design and polished it and finished it off for this final board game format. So we're really excited about that. So that's a good question there. So let me see if there's any other questions. France 44 was the next question. France 44, we're in the home stretch. We've got Ken Dingley is doing the final layout of the rules, and we're just making some final changes to the rules layout. And that one, well, then it's with the mounted map, with the deluxe counters, etc. So that whole project then goes overseas to the printers. So that one we're going to see, later in the year for sure. But that one's pretty much a wrap at this point. We're just finishing up the rules at this point. And the rules layout has already started. There's also a playbook, a separate playbook as well. It has a comprehensive example of play, and then the scenarios are in there. We did add scenarios to France 44. So great questions about that, but we're definitely looking around Q3 at this stage, maybe a little later for France 44, just for that team to come back. So great questions. I think that's all the questions that people have had. And wonderful. So I want to thank everybody again for joining tonight. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. It's been a few weeks. Again, just to let you know, again, if we look at our, I know I'm not sharing my screen right now, but just a reminder about the schedule. I talked about Vietnam Rumor of War. We're going to have that game shipping next week. And you can download the rules next week as well. Then we have Zeppelin Raider on March 25th, and I previewed the rules, gave you a sneak peek of the rules booklet for that game. And that's going to be shipping on March 25th. And then in April, we have several games. We have Hearts and Minds. We have Fortress Europa. Those are the 2 releases for April. And again, I'm hoping we'll have some reprints coming soon, as I mentioned, in the near future for Nations in Arms and the Battle Hymn game as well. So lots of stuff going on. And thanks for your questions tonight. Really appreciate it. And I'll answer the question about Tricorn. If there's an expansion 2 on Tricorn, I'll check. I believe there are plans for an expansion, second expansion for Tricorn, and I'll make sure I cover that in our next episode. So again, I want to thank everybody for joining. Again, please look for the recorded session tomorrow, which has our nice recorded interview with Tomislav Cipcic for his Brotherhood and Unity design, which will be coming out later in the year. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a good night. Thank you.